is a tax haven? Well, there are many types of tax havens, and one is a tax haven for corporations. I'll talk about that only a few seconds because my main focus is going to be what is a kind of a tax haven that you can use for your to save on taxes legally, without any breaking any laws. So here it goes. If you're a very big company like Apple, and I'm going to make this extremely simple. If you're a tax lawyer and you want to argue the fine points, you got a lot to argue about. But to keep it absolutely simple, you got a big factory in California, and you're making computers, and you're selling the computer, and every computer that costs you $100, you sell for $1,000. So you have a $900 profit on every computer you sell. Wow, very good. You're making all kinds of money, but when you combine the city, the state, and the local tax in California, out of the 100 million you make, you're paying 50 million in taxes. Oh, you don't like that at all. So you move your production to China, and now you sell your computers all over the world. But guess what? Because you're an American corporation, you still have to pay 50 million a year in taxes. You don't like that very much. So you look for a tax haven. And how do you use a tax haven? Well, it goes like this. You sell the patent on your computer to Apple Corporation Ireland. And Ireland is supposed to get 90% of what you make in profits, and that shifts it away from the USA. Watch this. You now still make that same 100 million a year. You'd have to pay 50 million a year in taxes if you stayed in Silicon Valley, California. But now you pay 98 million to Apple Corporation Ireland. Now, I told you I'm making this super simple and I'm exaggerating, but it's something like this. All right. So you still make 100 million a year profit, but instead of having it go directly to your California corporation, boy, I'm walking here, I gotta watch out for the dog poo-poo, because this is France, and in France they love their dogs so much that there's poo-poo every few seconds. Okay, I'm gonna sit down here on this park bench, avoid the poo-poo, and go on with my story. Okay, here we go. All right, so now Apple is paying Ireland, theoretically, to Apple Corporation Ireland 95 million of their 100 million, or 50, pardon me. Yeah, they're paying 95 million a year to Ireland Apple Corporation. And so none of that money is theoretically earned in California. And so the money piles up in Ireland. They can do whatever they want with it. They can build mansions, buy more factories, whatever they want to do, but there's no tax in California anymore. And that is how corporations use taxes. Now, tax havens. So I didn't want to spend too much time on this because I'm going to talk about tax havens for individuals, which are what some of you can use. Now, if you're to summarize, a corporation can save literally everything, all their profits, and pay zero taxes if they cleverly sell their patent to a company that is incorporated in a tax haven that has little or no tax on it. Well, by the way, how does Ireland make any money? Well, they need administrators. So the administrators that Apple has to hire, maybe 10 or 20 of them, they get big money, and they pay an income tax in Ireland, and Ireland makes some dough out of it. So that now summarizes our corporate level tax haven, which we're not even going to talk anymore about today. We're going to talk about individual tax havens. Now, one of the most famous ones is Monaco. Maybe 30 or 40 years ago, anyone in the world that was very rich and paid high taxes could move to Monaco, and guess what the tax rate is there? 0.0000. So somebody who was making $1 million a year on farmland or whatever they were making it on could move there, and there was no tax. 50 years ago, even Americans could move to Monaco. But then America, the USA I should say, became the only country in the world that says, no, from now on, an individual who moves to a tax haven is still exactly the same as a U.S. citizen. Well, we're going to tax you whether you move there or not. And of course, if you moved there and never went back to the United States, it didn't make much difference. But after 10 years, you'd have to renew your passport, and if you wanted another USA passport, there might be a question, show your tax returns. And if you can't show that you paid the same taxes as a U.S. resident, you wouldn't get a new passport. But once again, I'm going to pass that, except to say there's one tax haven in the world that Americans can still move to and pay no income tax. I bet you'd like to know what that is. Well, you already know, because that was the title of this video, which is why Puerto Rico is the tax haven of choice for Americans. All right, now, once again, what is a tax haven? If you are a private citizen and you are making a lot of money between state, federal, and local taxes in a place like California or New York, you're going to be paying close to 50% of your income in tax. So if you're making $100,000 a year, which these days isn't so much, you're going to be paying $50,000 for taxes, and wow, $50,000 is a lot of money to not have. Okay, so now we're going to say that you're a fairly wealthy person. You can't move to Monaco unless you give up your citizenship if you want to save taxes. And in order to give up your citizenship, of course, you have to get citizenship somewhere else. And that might be St. Lucia or St. Kitts or Barbados or other places that basically sell citizenship. But we're not going to do that. We're going to show you how all you have to do is move to Puerto Rico. Now, this is really funny, because in Puerto Rico, they have what they call a mirror image tax system to the USA. But for new residents that come in, guess what? Zero tax. Now, supposing you bought Bitcoin and you're a straight arrow guy and you don't want to cheat and not report your profits on Bitcoin. But let's say you bought Bitcoin when it was peanuts, when it was $1 a Bitcoin, and now, today, as I report this, it's hitting close to $70,000 for one lousy Bitcoin. Woo! What a profit. So you got maybe $70 million in profit. And I'm not sure what the tax rate is, but I think it's around 30% on capital gains in America. So if you sold all your Bitcoin, this is all theoretic, but I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who have a big profit in either stocks or Bitcoin or even a business they started. All right, so you sell your whatever it is, and you'd have to pay 30%. Now, if it was $100 million profit, that's $30 million. That is kind of serious money. I mean, you could buy a lot of breakfasts for $50 million or $30 million. So, all you have to do, it's crazy that it's this simple. All you have to do is physically move And if you physically move to Puerto Rico and you're sitting on a nice beach like this, instead of in a busy city, here's what happens. You got to fill out a lot of papers. Well, I said it's very easy, but filling out papers isn't that hard, especially if you have a guy who's really good at filling out papers. And if you're going to save 30 million, you can spend a few $1,000 to hire a guy. And oh yeah, here, this is funny. When I was in this Quora thing, I met a guy. His name was Braswell, and we were talking about how he could become a millionaire in a few years. And I said, hey, why don't you move to Puerto Rico? Because Puerto Rico has a no tax regime. The real estate values are going up there. You can make no money down deals. Well, to make a long story short, this guy Braswell moved to Puerto Rico on my advice, and he bought a few no money down deals, as I explained in another video how to do it. Basically a landlord who has abandoned property and doesn't know what to do with it is happy to take a note, an IOU, instead of money. So Braswell went to Puerto Rico, and he filled out all the forms, and now I think he's already a millionaire a year later. And he said, hey, if you got any friends or contacts that come to you from your videos, send them to me. I'll help them. I'll help them fill out the forms, and a very reasonable fee, and they can become millionaires too. I said, okay, hey, but one condition. After you make at least 1 million, you got to send me $100. He said, hey, no problem. Hey, you already sent me my 100. Okay, all right, getting back to our story. So now, you're a guy with a potential capital gain in the USA. You're living in who knows where, Podunk, New York, or Chicago, or who cares where, Des Moines. It doesn't matter where you're living, but you're a U.S. resident. And if you're in a high tax state, you've got the federal and the state tax. And if you're in a high city tax, like Los Angeles or San Francisco, you got even more tax, another 5 or 10%. So you can save a huge amount of money on your income tax and on your capital gains tax by simply physically moving to Puerto Rico, which is a really nice place. They speak both English and Spanish there, and it's easy to learn a little Spanish, and they have wonderful beaches. So what more do you want? Now, once you've made your sale and you've got 30 million extra, you can go anywhere in the world, and you're still a U.S. citizen, but your capital gains is locked in. Or I should say your no tax on capital gains is locked in. Now, if you have any business at all, whether you're making cosmetics or you're making any product or delivering any kind of service, if you locate in Puerto Rico, your income tax is amazingly low. It's 1% or something, absolutely peanuts. So I think this is going to be the end of this video, but if you have any questions, just put them in the comments, and I'll answer them below in the comments. And I'll also post the address of this chap, Braswell, so that you can contact him if you feel in the mood to consider moving to Puerto Rico, which is a great place for U.S. citizens. If you're not a U.S. citizen, Monaco is pretty good. You can go there and get the same benefits. Okay, see you tomorrow.